I want to talk about a very common problem I see in workplace investigations. In the moment when some event occurred within the workplace which meets a reasonable definition of harassment or bullying or sexual harassment, people fail to call it out, who are the bystanders. And as a result, those bystanders have now tacitly or by implication affirmed the action as being an acceptable action. So, the boss calls his employee, hey, you're an idiot, or hey, you look hot in that dress, or whatever. If other people don't speak out, they tacitly have now conceded that this behavior is appropriate and have created for that individual a new baseline of what is acceptable, which will now only serve to perpetuate further abuse, harassment, sexual harassment within the workplace. So the solution is pretty simple, even though it may not be easy. The solution is you have to call out conduct that is inappropriate, that is offensive, that is harassing in real time. You have to respond in the moment. Because if you respond later, people are, of course, going to say, well, why didn't you respond in the moment? So you have to respond in real time. And to do that, the problem, of course, is that many people they have a sort of freeze response when something that is socially awkward or difficult occurs, and so they do nothing. You've got to overcome that freeze response in the same way that, for example, a police officer has to learn to overcome a freeze response in a crisis situation so that they can still pull their firearm and maintain control. And they do that through the practice of muscle memory to develop the skills so that they can respond under stress. In the same way, you need to develop the skills over time to respond under stress and have the courage and conviction and focus of mind to call out harassing or sexually harassing or abusive behavior in real time when it occurs. And that is a practice you have to begin now to develop those skills in order to call it out when it does occur. Finally, just consider what happens when you did fail to call it out, when you were that bystander who said nothing and therefore tacitly enabled the bully or the harasser by saying nothing. What do you do? What you don't do, I want to say at this point, is double down on that mistake by continuing to act as if this is acceptable behavior. Because that's what I see time and again when I do investigations is people didn't call something out at one time, and to maintain consistency, they justify their earlier inaction by downplaying the thing that occurred or offering some other ad hoc explanation for why they didn't say anything. On the contrary, what you should do in that moment is cut your losses. Don't double down. Admit that you made a mistake. Admit that you should have spoken out and you failed to do so. But note that you are speaking out now. And it is only with that kind of moral courage and focus in the workplace will we begin to address some of these deeply problematic harassing and bullying behaviors.